There you go. I got the live button right there.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Today I am here with my favorite mortgage person, Brian Savage. He is the best out there, so make sure you remember him. He could help you with anything. You could call him, apply. He has all his way, which he will tell you. But he's been wonderful to me, so I just want to bring him on to help me with explaining you the home buying process.
Thank you, Dad. I'm great to be here. Thank you.
Is a realtor part of the home buying process is the first steps to understand what we need to do. I recommend all my buyers to get pre-approved first. That way we are never disappointed. We know exactly what we're looking for, how much what we're approved for, and you could always find out what you want your payments to be so you're not surprised at the end. So we go into our house hunting educated, knowledgeable, and we know what we're getting into. And then next fun part is the house hunting. I think I'm buying a home most of the time. And at this time we get sit down, we figure out what kind of home do you want. You want a single family condo or a townhouse? And what is your needs and what is your wants in your home? And then we start our search to find you the perfect home. And when we do find that perfect home, our next step is the fun part. We make an offer. And as soon as we get our offer accepted, we are good to go. First step when you get your offer accepted is the earnest money deposit. And in between this time, we do the home inspections and we go into negotiations. And hopefully, there's nothing wrong with the house, so we don't have to negotiate much. And hopefully, they accept our offer the way we put it in. And so there won't be much negotiations. We want to make sure that we're close to exactly what you want. But there's always something. I feel like they always come back with something. Like my last offer this week, they just changed the inspection dates from 7 to 5. It just, there's always something. And after that, we do the home inspection. And that's our big part is our home inspection because we want to make sure the house you're buying is safe for you and it will pass the mortgage process. And if there's anything wrong with the house, we negotiate with them on fixing the property if it's something required by a loan. But if it's something you could fix when you move in, sometimes we just negotiate a credit to make things go smoother. And after that, the fun part, we're at the closing table. That's what Brian is going to get us to the closing table. He's going to send me that little note saying clear to close. And closing process is actually pretty quick when we get to that point. We go to the title company, they explain you everything you're signing, and you pretty much, I will fill you in as we go along too, what papers are going to be required. And Brian will fill you into what you need and what you're going to be signing. You pretty much go into closing, I think, pretty knowledgeable when you're working with professionals like me and Brian.
Yep.
And then you move into your house. But let's start the next step with Brian about different mortgages. There's different type of mortgages.
Thank you, Didum. I appreciate that. And you're absolutely right. And starting with the pre-approval, it's a great place to start. Once you've selected your realtor and you find somebody that you like working with and that you get along with, because that's who you're going to spend the most of your time with is Didum, meeting her at properties and showing properties and that. So and once you get to that point where you've selected your realtor and you know that they're going to work on your behalf in your best interest, then getting referred to loan officer is the next step in securing, not only, what you can afford, what you'll pay in down payment and closing costs, but also what your payments would be. And if any of those, kind of poke you and make you feel uncomfortable, that's where you'd have a conversation with your mortgage professional to, hey, can we dial these numbers down to this purchase price or this amount of closing costs, or wow, that's way more house than I see myself living in. Dial the numbers in to your comfort level. And then once they are dialed in, that's what we turn back to Didum in order to have her set you up on the MLS and have you look in the right price range that like, and know you can, afford and close on. So that's kind of, the importance of a pre-approval. What do we look at in a pre-approval? We look at 2 years residency, 2 years employment, your assets for, closing, your income for paying for the property, some simple yes, no questions about derogatory credit, bankruptcy, foreclosure, and that kind of stuff. And then, we do pull credit, and the credit tells us the 3 credit scores, your 7 to 10 year credit history, and then what payments are on there that we have to add to the new house payment to make sure that your debt to income ratios are in alignment with whatever program that you qualify for, moving forward. And that basically takes us into the loan loan products, which there are 5 loan products that we cover with most borrowers, which is, VA, which is your veterans loan for prior military. And that program is part of the 3 government programs that consist of VA, USDA, and FHA. So VA is 0 down for down payment. And if the seller's willing to pay your closing costs, you can go into 0 down with your closing. So 0 and 0, you could end up going into a house and just show up to closing with your driver's license and your social security card and, become a homeowner. USDA is a rural program. It's for houses that are outside the major cities. And generally speaking, you're on, bigger land, bigger parcels, and, bigger properties. And so that is also a 0 down program, but it is set up and essentially set up on the property qualifying for rural USDA lending, and it is income based, and you can come in with 0 down, and the seller can pay all of your closing costs on that property as well, on that program as well. The third program is what's called conventional lending, and that's what most people consider bank lending or paper lending, and it's done by the 2 groups, Fannie and Freddie. They're not actual lenders. They just set up the guidelines and, make sure that they meet those guidelines so that they can, those loans are safe and secure, and be able to get those sold and off to the mortgage-backed securities, people that buy those and securitize those. And so generally speaking, conventional lending is your lowest interest rates and your lowest closing costs, because it's the highest caliber of lender. The next loan is what's called, I'm going to go into FHA. I know they're in opposite orders, but FHA is the third of the 3 government loans, and it's generally set up for first-time home buyers, people with lower down payment closing costs, and has a little bit more flexible, or considerably more flexible, credit standards. So where most loans will stop at 620, FHA will go down to 580 with 3.5% down, and then below 580 all the way down to 500 potentially, depending on your circumstances and your situation. 10% down, you can still secure a FHA mortgage with low interest rates, low closing costs, but a little bit bigger down payment at 10%. Conventional lending that we talked about previously stops at $726,200 is the upper limit of the loan amount. So you could, at 750 with 3% down, you could end up, with a conventional mortgage. You can obviously put 20% down and go over that loan, that purchase price. But once you get over $726,200, you can no longer secure a conventional mortgage. You get what's called jumbo mortgages. And jumbo mortgages, because the balances are higher, they go from $726,200 and up, $3 million, $5 million, $10 million. Those jumbo loans are going to generally require a little bit higher credit scores, a little bit tighter debt to income ratios, and are specific from lender to lender. So whereas conventional, you have a little bit more consistency, a little bit more conformity in how they're underwritten. Where they vary is in conventional lending, they vary in interest rate and closing costs. Jumbo lenders vary from lender to lender on down payment, closing costs, credit scores, underwriting guidelines and everything. So, but they're a little bit more picky because of the higher loan amounts. If you don't fit in those 5 boxes, that doesn't mean you can't get a house. There are 3 other boxes that come up, and those are basically Alt A, private lending, and hard money lending. And so people say, well, what's Alt A and that? And generally speaking, Alt A is like for self-employed borrowers, for investors that have too many houses for conventional, that kind of stuff. And then hard money is for people that are doing like flips, fixing up homes and flipping and that kind of stuff. So we're not really covering that today, but that just lets you know that if you don't fit in those 5 main categories, if you go to a broker versus a bank, because banks don't do these other loans, you have an opportunity to still be able to buy a house. You're just not going to be in the 5 major programs that I spoke about.
But you could still help them with those 3.
I'm sorry?
You could still help them with the other 3 loans.
Yeah, absolutely. As a broker, we sure can. We do the other 5 loans, and then if you don't fit in those categories, that's where we start looking at the alternative loans. And so that's really what a pre-approval does, is tell us what loan you qualify for. And then if you qualify for multiple loans, then we select the loan with the lowest interest rate and the lowest closing costs for your given situation. So, when we get calls from people say, hey, what's your interest rate? Well, interest rate's just one piece of the whole puzzle. There's actually 33 things that go into determining what program you qualify for, what the interest rate, down payment, and closing costs would be based on the answers of your pre-approval. That when we do the pre-approval, we have a 5 to 10 minute conversation and cover those 33 questions and get those answers, so we know how to qualify you for which program and interest rate, closing costs, and down payment. So yeah, great question. Thank you. In moving into that, some people will say, well, I don't have the money to buy a house. And that's where down payment assistance programs would come into play. There's the down payment assistance programs, start with as little as $500 in help, all the way up to $35,000 in help. That one generally runs out of money pretty fast. So I generally try to say between $500 and $25,000, depending on what you qualify for. So qualifications of the down payment assistance program have to do with your income, your credit score, your debt ratios, and then that $35,000 program also has a 4th qualification: is what is your job? What kind of job do you do? Where is that company based? If you're based in Florida, you qualify. If it's based in New York and Michigan or California, well, then you don't qualify for that program. So down payment assistance is the second part of the pre-approval. Once we go through the pre-approval, part of one of the questions we ask is what's your income and assets? And if you don't have enough money to close the property, and you don't make enough money, to where you make too much money to be in the down payment assistance program, that's where we would do the research on that down payment assistance program and offer that to you as well. So, but that's basically, the pre-approval process, loans, and down payment assistance for those that need it, that's involved with, the mortgage process. Any questions on that?
I was going to ask you something. It just went away.
That's the way it happens. It'll come to you tonight. Right?
But if anyone has any questions, you could give me a call. You can find me on Facebook, as you know, and you can find Brian as Facebook. And we will attach on the bottom of the Facebook all my information, his information. Do you want to give them out your phone number, Brian?
Yeah, I can be reached directly by call or text at 727-642-3762. Again, that's 727-642-3762. And I will include that along with my email in the comment section of this this webinar.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you so much, Brian, for your help. Oh, my question was, it was FHA questions, so we'll go back when they ask us more questions. Right now, we'll let you go and close more deals.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Please, everyone, give me a call. Brian is, if you think you cannot buy a house, give us a chance to talk to you. He will talk to you in detail. He will find out even before he pulls your credit report, you know certain things. He might be able to tell you, okay, let's do this, let's do that. He will, that way you're not deciding if you could buy a house or not. Somebody who does mortgages every day and give us to go to buy a house could help
Yep.
us.
Yeah. In 22 years of doing this, I don't tell people no. I tell them not right now. And if there's a situation that's keeping you from buying a house that we discover in the pre-approval process, we give you a plan to fix your credit, fix your employment, fix your down payment and closing costs and that kind of stuff. So unlike a bank that just says nope, you don't qualify, and they don't give you any indication or answer as to why, or even point you in the right direction, they just give you a letter that says nope, you don't qualify. I don't do that. I put together a plan to get you from where you are right now to where you want to go, which is home ownership, and then work with you through that process to help you get to the house, whether it's today, tomorrow, next month, 6 months from now, or next year.
Yeah. So between Brian and I, we have a 42 years of experience in real estate, so we could pretty much make sure and hold our hand through the process.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Okay.
Thanks again for having me, Didium. And if there's anything that you need or your clients need, feel free to reach out. Thank you, and
Brian,
have a blessed weekend.
Helping me with this process.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure.
You guys have a great evening. Please give us a call with any questions. Take care.
Bye-bye.